Caitlin Clark took a massive hit to the head. I'm telling you right now, there was no call on this play. And that pretty much sums up how the season been.
Good little taste of, what's possible for this organization and for this franchise. And there's a lot for us to, hold our heads high about.
Caitlin Clark's rookie season just ended with a bang, but not the kind you'd expect. Picture this: a vicious foul, a missed call, and a playoff exit that's got everyone talking. What really went down in that game against the Connecticut Sun? Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great, thank you so much. Now, back to the videos. Let's rewind a bit. Clark's rookie year was insane. She averaged 19.2 points, 8.4 assists, and 5.7 rebounds per game. That's Rookie of the Year material right there. Everyone was hyped for her playoff debut against the Sun. The Mohegan Sun Arena was electric, with fans rocking Clark's 922 jerseys everywhere you looked. But here's where things get crazy. You know how fairy tales are supposed to have happy endings? Well, Clark's playoff story took a wild turn. The question on everyone's mind: was her dream rookie season about to become a total nightmare? What happened next shocked fans, players, and even the refs. You won't believe how this playoff series unfolded. Turns out Clark's playoff debut was more of a horror story than a fairy tale. Ever wonder what happens when a rookie sensation faces her toughest opponent yet? Hint, it's not the other team, it's the pressure. Game 1 of the playoffs was supposed to be Caitlin Clark's moment to shine, but instead of dazzling the crowd with her usual flair, Clark found herself in a shooting nightmare. You know how sometimes great players have off nights? Well, this was Clark's toughest game yet.
We've climbed all the way back in and definitely had our opportunities late. And then a few different miscues. And
picture this: Clark, the rookie phenom who'd been lighting up scoreboards all season, suddenly couldn't find the basket. She was 4 for 17 from the field. That's rough. But wait, it gets worse. From beyond the arc, a painful 2 for 13. Ouch. It's like the basket had a force field around it or something. Meanwhile, Marina Mabrey was having the game of her life. Coming off the bench, Mabrey exploded for 27 points. That's not just good, that's historic. She set a new record for the most points by a bench player in WNBA postseason history. Talk about stealing the spotlight. As the game went on, you could see the frustration building on Clark's face. Every missed shot, every Mabrey bucket, it was like watching a slow-motion car crash. Clark even smacked a chair on the bench after a timeout. That's how bad it was getting. But here's the thing, it wasn't just Clark struggling. The whole Fever team was ice cold. They only made 6 of 28 three-point attempts. That's the kind of shooting that loses games, and boy, did they lose this one. The final score, 93-69 for the Connecticut Sun, a crushing defeat for the Fever, and a brutal welcome to playoff basketball for Clark. After the game, Clark didn't shy away from her performance. She said, "My shot felt like it was right there. It's so frustrating as a shooter when it won't go down for you." You could hear the disappointment in her voice, but she also owned up to her defensive mistakes, adding, "Our defense could have been a little bit better. I had a few lapses on the defensive end." This game was a stark reminder that even the brightest stars can have their light dimmed. Clark, who'd been averaging 19.2 points, 8.4 assists, and 5.7 rebounds per game in her rookie season, suddenly looked human, very human. But here's where it gets interesting. You know how they say it's not about how you fall, but how you get back up? Well, Clark's response to this setback was about to be put to the test. And trust me, what happened next had fans, players, and even the refs in total disbelief. Just when Clark thought she'd hit rock bottom, the court itself seemed to rise up against her. What happened next wasn't just a foul, it was a moment that sparked outrage across the entire WNBA community. Picture this, it's late in the game, tensions are high, and Clark's trying to make a comeback. She goes up for a shot, and bam, Marina Mabrey comes flying in, her hand smacking Clark right in the face. It's the kind of contact that makes you wince just watching it.
Caitlin Clark took a massive hit to the head. I'm telling you right now, there was no call on this play. And that pretty much sums up how the season been. Being knocked upside the head by who? Marina Marbury, bruh. Let's roll the footage right now.
Now, you'd think the refs would be all over that, right? Wrong. They missed it completely. No whistle, no foul call, nothing. It's like they were watching a different game or something. Fans went crazy, social media exploded with clips of the play, and everyone had the same question. How on earth did the refs miss that? One fan summed it up perfectly. That's a flagrant foul in the NBA. And you know what? They're not wrong. This wasn't just about one missed call. It opened up a whole can of worms about WNBA officiating. People started asking some serious questions.
Those WNBA referees, there was an incident that went down in tonight's game that is causing a lot of controversy online. That is Caitlin Clark pretty much.
Are the refs letting too much go? Is player safety at risk? And why are the standards so different from the NBA? You could feel the frustration in the arena. Commentators were in disbelief, saying things like, "That's a foul on air." It's one thing when fans get upset, but when even the pros are calling it out, you know something's not right. The worst part, this wasn't just some random play in a regular season game. This was the playoffs. Every possession counts, and a call like that can change everything. It's the kind of moment that can haunt a team for an entire offseason. But here's where it gets really interesting. After the game, Clark didn't just complain about the missed call. She owned up to her own mistakes too. She said, "Our defense could have been a little bit better. I had a few lapses on the defensive end." That's some serious maturity from a rookie, especially after a game like that. It's like Clark was saying, yeah, that call was bad, but I'm not perfect either. It's the kind of attitude that makes you respect a player even when things aren't going their way. This whole situation got people talking about more than just one game or one player. It sparked a bigger conversation about the WNBA as a whole.
The young lady looked like she definitely deserved to be in the playoffs after she led the Indiana Fever in spectacular fashion. Season is over in a way because now we can really analyze the data that the referees left behind. Hopefully.
Are the refs getting the support they need? Is the league doing enough to protect its stars? These are the kind of questions that don't have easy answers, but they're important to ask. As the dust settled on this controversial play, one thing was clear. The WNBA had some serious thinking to do. Player safety, officiating standards, consistency across leagues. These aren't just buzzwords. They're real issues that affect real players like Clark. As the dust settled on the foul controversy, all eyes turned to Clark. The question on everyone's mind, how would she respond after such a tough start to her playoff career? What happened next shocked even her biggest critics. Caitlin Clark came back with a vengeance in Game 2. It's like she flipped a switch or something. Remember how she struggled in Game 1? Well, this time she was on fire. Clark dropped 25 points, dished out 6 assists, and grabbed 8 rebounds. That's the Clark we've been watching all season. But here's the crazy part. Even with Clark balling out, it wasn't enough.
We're a young group, a pretty inexperienced group, but we came together and had a lot of fun playing with one another. And
semifinals matchup, and guys,
done and dusted.
done and done. I mean,
the Fever still lost 87 and 81. Can you believe it? Clark was out there giving it her all, but the team just couldn't get it together. You know what's wild? Clark was shooting way better this time. She went 10 for 23 from the field. That's a huge improvement from Game 1, but from 3-point range, still not great. She only made 3 out of 12 attempts. It's like the long-range shots were still giving her trouble. The whole team was having issues with their shooting. Clark even said after the game, "We could have been right there in this game. We know we could have been better offensively and defensively." You can hear the frustration in her voice.
so many ways where we can improve and have been a lot better offensively and defensively, and we know we could have been right there in that game. And hopefully we shoot the ball a little bit better. Good little taste of what's possible for this organization and for this franchise, and there's a lot for us to hold our heads high about.
Right? It's like they knew they were so close, but just couldn't quite get there. And get this, the Fever's shooting woes weren't just a one-game thing. Throughout the series, they only made 6 of 28 three-point attempts. That's rough. No wonder they couldn't keep up with the Sun. But you know what's even crazier? All this drama isn't just about Clark and the team. There's some serious heat on the Fever's coach, Christy Sides. People are starting to wonder if she's the right person for the job.
The resiliency that these guys showed all year, but god dang, give Connecticut credit, right? We're all competitors in that locker room, and so it doesn't feel good. It just doesn't feel good to leave here. And
I mean, when your star player is putting up numbers like Clark did in Game 2, and you still can't win, that's gotta raise some questions. Clark didn't throw anyone under the bus though. She talked about how they had a lot of wide open looks that they just couldn't convert. It's like the whole team was in a shooting slump at the worst possible time. So there you have it. Clark bounced back big time, but it wasn't enough to save the Fever's season. They're out of the playoffs, and now everyone's wondering what's next. Will they make changes in the offseason? Is Coach Sides gonna be back next year? So Clark's playoff journey was a wild ride. She went from a tough game 1 to a comeback in game 2, but it wasn't enough to save the Fever's season. That missed foul call, it still got people talking. Here's the thing, Clark's not letting this playoff stumble slow her down. She's taking a break from basketball to spend time with family and get ready for next season.
Trying to give everything I could to this team and kind of move on and put all that behind me and help this team, get back to the playoffs. So I feel like it'll be good for me to kind of reflect back on everything that's happened. Like, I feel like I didn't even have time to really reflect on my college career because it ended so fast.
Smart move, right? It's like she's hitting the reset button. But you know what's really interesting? Clark still believes in her team. She said, "I think we could have been right there in that game." That's the kind of attitude that makes champions. Now everyone's wondering, will this playoff experience light a fire under Clark for next season, or will it haunt her rookie dreams? Only time will tell, but one thing's for sure, the WNBA better watch out for Caitlin Clark next year.